Jena, Louisiana has suffered through a tragic series of racial incidents and subsequent racial strife. I sincerely hope this hearing will focus on productive solutions.
We're reminded of the history of the civil rights movement, at least from the 50s and the 60s. And I would listen to older African Americans who took great pain in thanking the federal government for being their refuge. And so my questions today will be focused pointedly about the failure of this government to protect.
In an ideal world, we know that justice should be blind. In the real world, it is not. Prosecutors see race. And in Jena, it seems as if black children were hammered and white children were given a pass or a slap on the wrist. Although we believe that the Jena 6 were terrifically overcharged, we don't think it's going to help matters by prosecuting the noose hangers and sending them to jail. Two wrongs don't make a right, it seems to us.
Anytime we are in a situation where young people of the same age face different levels of justice, then we are experiencing, in our opinion, the undermining of the Constitution. And what has been most troubling is the silence of the federal government in the face of this. Now, this is bipartisan. In the Republican administration of Dwight Eisenhower sent the federal government into Little Rock. John Kennedy sent in the federal government, and the Justice Department was involved. So did Lyndon Johnson. What has happened in Jena and what has happened all over this country, we have not heard one federal response. It is almost like the national government is not in the country while we're watching nooses on the news every night, while we're watching hate crimes. And if we can't appeal to the federal government, where can we go? It has been rationalized by those in Jena, some that these nooses was a prank. A prank to who? Grandchildren of people who saw their grandparents hang on nooses? If there is a prank, if there is a joke, the joke is if we can represent to the world that we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, but we can't protect youngsters in Jena, Louisiana, and we can't stop people from hanging nooses, and our federal government, after 50 years of bipartisan tradition of protecting people from states' rights, has now decided it can no longer protect people from states that decide they can prosecute some 16-year-olds if they're black as adults, but can't prosecute other 16-year-olds if they're white, same age, but they qualify as juveniles. Do we want harmony? Absolutely. Do we want the races to come together? Absolutely. But you cannot achieve racial justice by getting a premature racial quiet. There's a difference between peace and quiet, Mr. Chairman. Quiet means shut up and allow a two-tier justice system to continue to exist. Justice means we must have an even playing field, and the Justice Department, at the behest of this committee, needs to step into Jena and the Jenas of this country and establish that the federal government is still in charge and the states did not win the Civil War.
Washington, tell me why you did not intervene, not by way of the legal system, but the consultation that the U.S. attorneys have with the local district attorneys. Why didn't you intervene? This broken lives could have been prevented if you had taken the symbolic responsibility that you have, being the first African American appointed to the Western District.
First of all, I did intervene. I did engage the district attorney. We had conversations about his charging decisions and things of that sort. At the end of the day, there are only certain things that a United States attorney can do that a federal representative can do with respect to a state and how it handles its criminal justice system.
I think that Mr. Washington's statement, Congresswoman, is what is most disturbing to us, and that is when he said that the federal government, through he as U.S. attorney, got involved and there was nothing they could do. And that is why I said in my opening statement, did the federal government or the United States or the Union win the Civil War or not? Because are we saying that the federal government cannot protect us against state laws that are set up unfair and unequal. It is unconstitutional to say you have to be grown to commit a hate crime. And what they're saying, beyond Michael Bell's case, beyond Jena 6, that if you are under a certain age, we will allow you to operate hate with full immunity. And that is something I don't think the federal government can tolerate to send when we are seeing nooses hung all over this country. That's first. Secondly, when they can stand by and watch this young man do 10 months in jail, and then the Third Circuit overturns that. And the same judge that was the adult judge becomes the juvenile judge and turns around and gives them 18 months in revenge because the same judge and the same prosecutor runs the whole town, and we say we have to wait and see while they're doing interviews over CNN and others, creating the climate that this is fair and this is just. I think that this is nothing tantamount to aiding and abetting people that Dr. King fought against. And we don't have to experiment. Dr. King's son marched now. We're not talking about our mamas. We marching now. We marched in Jena now. We ain't got to go back to back in the day. We're still in the day. And we need some people today to do what Eisenhower did, Johnson did, and Kennedy did. That's intervene, not just sit down and have some casual conversations with a DA and say, explain to me why you're so biased.